Guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is part 2 of the paranormal things that I experienced while growing up. If you haven't seen part 1, you should definitely go see it. It's my last video. You'll find it. So where we left off is I had just moved from a 2-floor house into a smaller house. I told you guys what went down there, and we moved to another house. And I said here is where things started to get like really real for me. At first, everything seemed normal, everything was chill, nothing really happened. And I don't really remember when things started happening, but I remember one of the first things was I remember taking a shower in the tub, taking a bath, and there's always like a little window where the restroom is, and behind that window was the boiler, and then was the rest of the front yard, which was very big. The house was a normal size, but the yard was pretty big. So that was the window, but it was pretty high up, so obviously no one can see inside the restroom. And I started hearing knocking. And me, obviously, I thought it was my little brother or one of my brothers or one of my sisters. Knocking. I got scared, I got scared and startled, but obviously I didn't do nothing, I didn't overreact. So I just let it go. And after that is when anywhere I would be at, anywhere, I could be in a car, in a room, it's just anywhere I would hear knocking. For example, let's say one time my mom told me to go clean the car. So when I go clean the car, and I was cleaning the car, sweeping, whatever, and I started hearing knocking, but the knocking would sound like it was on metal or the car, because cars are usually like metal, I guess. So you would hear like knocking on metal or knocking on the car. So I was like, what? So I came outside the car, looked around, no one was there, went back inside, started cleaning again, and it started knocking again. I ignored it, moved on with my day. Another example is me being in my mom's room, and I would hear knocking from the outside of the room, not like inside the house, but like outside the house. Because we had the yard, then we had like a little pathway in the side. Here was the house, little pathway in behind the house. It sounded like that. I looked out the window, no one was there. Again, I didn't make a big deal out of it. It was a month, 2 months of just knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. Anywhere I would be, I could be taking a shower, I could be in a room, I could be in the living room, in the kitchen, I could be in my mom's room, in the car. It would just be knocking. And I never told no one, because at that point I was pretty done with people telling me that it was fake or I was hearing stuff. So I just kept it to myself and decided to learn how to deal with it. But then came this one night where I remember being in my bedroom alone. I used to have a bunk bed, so I used to sleep on the top bunk bed. I remember hearing the knocking from like the pathway behind our room, because my room had like a back door, like that was the back room. You can open the door and then go outside to the pathway, this pathway, then go to the big yard. And it was like a big window. So I just got really mad and I screamed out. I don't know why I did it, but I just did. Well, I didn't scream out, but I spoke really, really loud, like with a commanding voice. I was like, whatever it is that is trying to scare me or is trying to bother me, I am not scared of you. Now leave. And I just said that out loud. I told it to leave. And from that day on, I did not hear the knocking no more. Like at all. I didn't hear the knocking for shit. So that was like that was like something like for me, that was something very big, because it's not normal to hear knocking wherever the fuck you go. Another thing that happened for the first time ever was, again, I was sleeping on the bottom bunk this time. That was where my sister slept, but she was in the living room eating or watching TV, and I went to lay down because I already had a phone by that age. I was in 4th grade, and I remember just like staring up at the ceiling, and then I remember not being able to move, not being able to scream. I wanted to scream out, I wanted to ask for help, because I didn't know what was going on, but obviously it was, I was having sleep paralysis. The very first time I had it, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what sleep paralysis was. So that was going on, and from the corner of my eye, if you know, you look your peripheral vision, you look to the side. I couldn't move my head obviously, but just my eyes. I saw someone standing by the doorway that connected to the room. Just a shadow. It's a shadow of a person. I didn't see if it was young. It didn't look young. It wasn't very tall. It was like average, but it was just a shadow, just standing there and looking at me. Once I saw that, I started praying, and my sister came back from the kitchen into the room, and she told me, in Spanish, she said, "Get out, go away." She told me that. But when she said, "Get out, go away," like she screamed it at me, like in a very commanding voice. Whatever was there, gone. My sleep paralysis was gone. I stood up, ran to my mom's room, and started bawling my eyes out. And that was the first time I ever experienced sleep paralysis and saw something there. And I'm guessing, that whatever was there, whatever the shadow was, kind of went away because my sister said, "Get out, go away," in a very commanding voice, and just automatically left. I guess it thought it was talking to the entity, whatever it was. But I told my mom what happened, and she told me that I was probably having a nightmare, that I shouldn't worry, whatever. But then after that night is when I started sleepwalking. And the strange thing about that's like me sleepwalking, was I have never sleepwalked before. Not when I was young, like never before. But what I find strange was when I would sleepwalk, I would kind of almost be aware that I was sleepwalking, because I would like have like these glimpses of waking up and standing up and noticing that I'm doing something, but then going unconscious again, and then waking up. I don't know, it's like this thing where I knew I was doing something, but it would just black out again. I would wake up doing something else, black out again. So that was very strange. And I don't know if sleepwalking is like that, but it was just that. Like, let's say I'm grabbing something while I'm sleepwalking, I'll like come back to my senses, know what I'm doing, then lose my sense again and black out completely. Again, I kind of wake up again, know what I'm doing, then black out completely again. So that was very, 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 very weird. I don't know, I run out of breath every time I try to like tell these things. I don't know why. It's just like my breath kind of goes away. But yeah, and a very strange way that I would get down from my bed, since I did sleep on a bunk bed, I would just like jump down, like completely squat on like squat on top of my bunk bed and like jump down like if nothing, which I didn't do that when I was like, you know, on a regular. It was like a little railing. I put my foot on the railing, stretch my foot down to touch my sister's bed, like a little ladder like that. I would never just jump straight down, but they told me that's what I would do. I would just jump straight down, like just boom. And obviously people would wake up like, what the fuck? And I would be sleepwalking. And like I said, it was very strange, because it would be like I would be conscious and not unconscious, conscious and unconscious. And that was very weird. That's when I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I have never sleepwalked before. My mom got really concerned, and after a while it stopped. I don't know, I think it went on for quite a while, but it was not every night, it was every now and then. It was still very weird. Still very weird, in my opinion. Because, I mean, you guys can leave in the comments if it's, you know, normal to sleepwalk how I sleepwalk, which is unconscious and conscious again. Like, if I didn't have control over my body, like I knew what I was doing, but then I would just black out again and keep doing what I was doing without me wanting to do it. If that makes sense. Another thing that happened was, one time I stayed home alone with my little brother. We were playing in my mom's room, and I remember we wanted to play with another toy, which was in my bedroom, and it was like my mom's room, a hallway, my bedroom. So I was walking through the hallway, but in my mom's bedroom there was like a doorway, like you could see straight to the kitchen. And I was walking, and as I was walking, I looked towards the kitchen, still walking, and I stood right there, just like I froze because I saw the spirit of what I believe and my mom believes of my grandma. There's this picture of her that we have, the only picture of her, the only time I've ever seen her, with two ponytails, a dress, and that's the way I saw her. I described her perfectly to my mom, and she said, "Yeah, that was your grandma. Like that must have been your grandma." And that was scary, I guess. She had like a very firm face. She was not happy nor like upset. She was just like very serious. And again, I brushed it off because I was not about to scare my little brother. So I kept walking, got to the toilet, but obviously I was very like shooken up or whatever. Also, another thing, this didn't happen to me, but it happened to my older sister. In her room, she slept like this, and the window was up here. She would always get like this overwhelming feeling of someone watching her through the window, or like she would get like this. She would get anxious and want to look out the window, but she had a feeling that someone was gonna be standing there. She always had that like very overwhelming feeling of someone being at that window. So that was like another weird thing that happened. And I think that's it for that house, if I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, I think that was it for that house. After 4 years, we moved out. Oh no, in the process of those 4 years, my mom opened up a flower shop. She's a florist, so she opened up a flower shop. And in that flower shop was like a house in the back, or like these extra rooms where like it was a flower shop, but it was also like a place to live. So we ended up moving away from the house and moving into the shop that was like mixed with a house. And we had actually lived there before. Like I said, it was like apartments in the back and like shops in the front. But before all of that, it was like a kids nursing, like a kids clinic, I guess. So all the doors were still there, the metal doors and the cashier things, where you register, they were all still there. And we used to live there when I was like 4 in the back. But then we moved back. She opened up a flower shop, and so the place she got was like, I guess it was very big, obviously not very big, but it was like okay, and it was like a yard sale shop, I guess you could say. So they left a lot of things. We had to clean a lot of things out, and since we hadn't brung our beds there yet, like we didn't install nothing yet, we would just like get like air mattresses or lay down on the floor. And when we would do that, people would pull on your feet. I don't know if you get what I'm talking about. So you're laying down, you're sleeping, whatever, or you're just on your phone, people would grab your feet. Like something would grab your feet. Like it would just like, this is your feet, they would grab it or pull it. That happened quite a bit to me and my sister, the one that also sees things. It happened to us quite a bit. They would grab and like pull our feet. So that was like, whoa, calm down. That was one of the things that happened there. Another thing is that one time the shop was installed already, everything was done, and I was in front where the cashier is with my little brother. Obviously I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, so I knew what I was doing. I wasn't like stupid. And so we were just chilling inside the shop. My mom was in the room, like not in the room, but like in the back room of the store with my sister. And me and him were on the phone, and then my mom started screaming out our names, and we're like, "Go, what? Like what? Like did you need us or something?" And she says, "What are you guys talking about? You guys were just screaming for help." And we're like, "What?" She was like, "Yes, you guys were just screaming for help." And in Spanish, we were screaming, "Ayúdame, mom, ayúdame. Mom, ayúdame," which is mom, help, help, mom. She said she heard us scream that like in a desperate tone, like a very needing tone, like if we weren't actually in danger. So that was like another thing that happened. I don't know what that could have been, but I mean, and also I would hear my name called out when no one was calling me. Let's say once I heard my sister, the one that was supposed to these things, calling me, and I went to check in the back room, and she wasn't here no more. She was at work, but I clearly heard her Or there would be times where my mom was in front of the shop, like making flowers or like at the cash register, and me and my sister went in the back room and we heard my name getting called like 2 times, 3 times. And I went up because it was like my mom's voice, but my mom was not calling me at all, which is also very, very weird. But around that time, my sister would work overnight and I would go with her. We would be people that deliver newspaper. Like we would drive around and just throw the newspaper. Like people do in bikes, but we do it in cars. It was just me and her, me the one that also sees things. So obviously that's like not a good mixture. But I don't know why, but every time we would stop to sleep, or like because you know it was sometimes we were sleepy. You can't drive around sleepy because it's super dangerous. We would stop to sleep and I'm sorry, I just ran out of breath. I don't know why I ran out of breath when I'm talking about this. I don't know why. We would hear knocking on the windows, or like we would have like these terrible nightmares and we'd just wake up and be like, okay, we need to go. Like, we need to get back to work. And that would happen very frequently, like a lot. There was this one time where we decided to park in this empty parking lot. There was like a I think it was a Target or something. It was like a store right there in the front, and a car was here, and a kid's clinic was here, like a kid's little hospital. It was like a kid's hospital, and it's not 24 hours. It's just a clinic, which means it closed like around 6. So there was no one there. It was like 3 a.m. So obviously no one's in that clinic. We were sitting there. We're gonna take a nap. We laid down. We were about to go to sleep. Like we made the car seats, like, you know, we laid them back, and we started hearing children's screams coming out of that clinic, like very desperate child screams, like you know, like when someone's in pain, that type of thing. And we were like, oh shit, like no, hell no, we need to go. So we eventually we didn't even sleep. We were startled, so we left, which was very, very creepy because it was a children's clinic and we heard children screaming when it wasn't 24 hours. So that was a very bizarre thing. Also, another thing that happened in that other house where I was hearing the knocking was my sister was pregnant at the time. So we would still work overnight. We would leave the house like around 12 or 1 or 3 a.m. whenever we wanted to leave. And like I said, our yard was big, so we walked out that yard, opened the gate. Her car was parked like a little bit more front, but our house was right in the corner of a street, not like a main street, but another house, like another street for houses. And crossing the street from that, it was not like a long distance. It was like a very short, you know, like a regular block. This house had a lot of vegetation, just like a lot of trees, a lot of plants, overgrown, everything. The house was very far, and this was like the trees and the plants, and no one really cleaned it out. And we would walk, and the first time it happened, we were like, okay, probably it's like some weird guy or whatever. They would always whistle at her, like, you know, when you whistle to call someone over, when you whistle to get someone's attention. That would happen a lot. So that happened the first time. We were like, okay, probably a weirdo. And it happened all the time. Every time we got out to go work, no matter what time, it was always like this luring whistle. So we eventually told our mom, and she said that spirits like that if you're pregnant and you hear whistling and they try to lure you, or an entity tries to lure you, they want to take your baby or like kill you or the baby. Which was like I was like, whoa. But thank God we never followed it, because my sister is a type to, when she sees something, she is not scared. She will go look at it. So say she hears knocking, she's gonna go into the room where she's hearing shit. Like, I would just hear it and be like, ooh, I hear shit. And like 3 times out of 5, I won't go, but she will. She doesn't give a fuck. She'll go check. So thank God we never checked, or we never like followed the whistling. But just to think that is like it's mind blowing that like entities or like spirits have the power to even do that, you know. Or maybe if she would have been working alone, maybe that could have been like, I don't even want to think about it, but I guess it would have been easier to lure someone. But So that's pretty much it for that house and store. And then we moved into this house here in LA. Keep in mind that was in Watson and Compton. We moved back to LA, and his house is not any better, which because the guy that used to live in my house, the one I'm standing in right now, got shot and killed here, right here. And if you don't believe me, we got a mural on the side that some of his friends made. So they made like a mural with his name and the day he passed away and everything. So we got the house after him, which was like not a good sign, but okay. So we got the house. Not a lot of houses were available in LA at that time, so we got the one. We did the best we could with what we had. So we closed the shop. We moved here. To be honest, everything is pretty normal, except normal. My normal. Like I'm used to like a lot of things, so it's normal for me. But you do see the occasional shadow of a guy standing. And the guy was like, your typical cholo that would have like the shorts and the long socks and the shoes. And those type of shadows appear around, or you hear like a man's voice. Once there's like a guava tree in the back, so me and my mom were like getting guavas. So I was up in the ladder doing my thing, cutting them down, passing them to my mom and behind me. So I was picking them down. She was standing. I grabbed like two, put it in the bucket. I was just doing it fast because I wanted to go inside already. I put it in fast, looked back because I didn't even notice it, but there was like a guy standing next to my mom. I was like, hold up, because I was like, wait a minute, like there's someone besides my mom. I looked back, he was gone. And I asked my mom, who was the guy besides you? And she was like, what are you talking about? No one's here, no one was beside me. So another thing that happened was, this happened when we were just moving in. I had where the store where we lived, or like the back of the store, or the house where the store was, didn't have like a bath. It would just have like a shower. So I was very excited to like be able to take a bath again. And as I was taking my bath, keep in mind the window. There was a window, and here are the rails. So like a hand can't physically fit in it unless you go like, let's say here you have to go. You can't go like this. You have to go like this, and try to force your hand to be like that. And besides that, the little path we have inside our house is just like, you fit like this only, and it's full of stuff, like storage stuff that we didn't like want to go put all the way in the garage. So it's completely covered. No one could walk through there. So I was taking a shower, bath, and all of a sudden I see like, it was like I heard and I saw this like hand just hit the window like completely, like let's say just like this, like just full hand. The whole handprint was like, it just hit the window and it made the noise, and I was like, oh shit. I heard the noise, looked back at it, and the hand was like right there. Clearly someone's hand that just hit the window. And of course I was like, oh shit. And luckily it was towards the end of my bath, so I tried to quickly get out the restroom. I didn't tell no one again because I'm used to it. It did still startle me, but what can you do? Another thing is, my nephew, when he was like, he's 5 now, so when he was like 3, the dining area, he was standing in the living room, he looked to the dining area. He was pointing, because the dining area light was off, he was pointing at the dining area and was just like, got scared. He was like, look, and he was starting to cry. He was like, look, there's something there. Like, he started crying, he ran away, and I went to go check who was there. There was nothing there. Another thing with a hitting is, I was laying down this happened recently, like about a month ago, 2 months ago. I was laying down in my sister's room and someone hit the window. And it was in my yard, so obviously no strange person is gonna be in my yard because I have a dog, and it's like, I have a gate. I think I would hear someone open the gate or jumping the gate. And I was like, oh shit. It was like 12 a.m. Opened the curtains, tried to see who the fuck was in my yard. There was no one there. And I was like, oh, okay. Things fall off, like a couple fall off, or like a plate, or like something that I put away falls off, and I'm like, what the fuck? That was not on the edge of no table, but it just falls off, and I just pick it up like nothing. Like if it falls, like if I know I put it away right, and it like falls on the ground or like flies to the ground, I just pick it up and put it back where it was. That's how used to it. That's how used to it I am. Now, the man's voice. This happens quite a lot. The first time it happened, me and my brother were watching TV here in this room, and we were watching TV and we heard like this man's voice, like it was a deep voice. And we're the only two guys in the house because my little brother was away, and me and him were here, and my mom and my sisters were the only ones in the house. So my dad was working, so there can't be another man's voice. And we heard a man's voice, like clearly just conversating with them, I guess. We looked at each other, we're like, what the fuck? Like, we both heard the man's voice. We opened the door and no man was there. Like, no guy. And after that, it's just like frequently where we hear a man's voice outside in the living room, and I open it and no one's there. And knocking on the door. Or like people shushing me, like as you guys saw on the video. Stuff like that. It's just, if you go back to the first video I did, second video, you can hear the knocking on my door and you can hear people shushing me. So that's coming from the living room. So that's something. Also, very, very, very recently was the whistling. This was like last week on day of Thanksgiving, I forget. But it was like 3 a.m. I was awake because, I don't know why. And like I said, it wasn't the pathway of my house where everything is like filled up, where you can't walk in it. There's no physical way to walk in there. Like whistling, I covered my head, and it was like my head was covered, but it was not like this far away whistling where it could have been one of my neighbors. It was like when someone's whistling right next to you. Like when you're sitting in class and like this dude like a table away is whistling to you, like whistling. That's how it hurt. That's how it sounded, and I was like, oh hell no. Obviously, I ignored it again. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. That's the part 2. I don't know how long this is, but I'm gonna have to edit it down. But this is part 2. I have a couple experiences that I might have gone through, but I'll just save those for another story time later. And just comment what type of videos you want to see, and yeah, like and subscribe. Bye. Oh my god, why do I get so dizzy when I tell these stories?